Alrighty, so here we go. It's time to do the review of match week number 16 in terms of the midweek action, and we're gonna do part one today, and tomorrow we're gonna finish off with part number two, and then we have to do the preview of the weekend's action because again, anytime when there's a midweek games and when there's so many games that's gonna be happening at the same time, it's very hard for me to kind of keep up in terms of just doing previews, reviews, and then previews again straight away. But with that being said, let us begin with the first game. And what's kind of interesting, I will say, about this midweek action is that there was a lot of goals that was scored in these 7:30 games. The Eastern Conference seems like provide more of the fireworks in terms of this midweek action. The West, not so much though, but we'll get to that tomorrow. But first, we're gonna talk about Toronto versus the Philadelphia Union, and I gotta say, Toronto they almost stole this one. The Union they were by far the better team in this one, but give credit to TFC. They fought hard in this game. They keep this game in, or they keep themselves in this game, and also partially the fact that the Union were very lackluster going forward on the attack. But you just had a sense that with the way that the Union eventually found that equalizer after Toronto took that surprising lead, that yeah, the Union looked like they were gonna go get all 3 points in this game. Now, in the first half, yeah, not much really happened in the first 11-minute game. In fact, in the 12th minute, the first shot of the game saw Johnson deny Diamani on an overhead kick before Bueno puts it wide from close. The Union definitely took over this game up to this point. They were pushing for the opening goal. Hariel would put it wide from close on the 21st before Vasilev hits it right to Johnson. And yeah, the pressure was definitely mounting for the Union as they would continue to look to get this opening goal. Glesnes would then puts it over from long range. Osorio then had the first shot for TFC. So up to this point, it was all Union. It was all one-way traffic. But Osorio finally gets the first shot for TFC and really the first opportunity that Toronto has had up to this point. But he puts it over from long range, and then he denied, not or he was denied by Blake in the 42nd minute on the second phase of play. Or no, he was denied. Blake denied. Oh, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Blake denied Osorio, and on the second phase of play, Bryn Hinson had an overhead kick, and for that puts it over. So Bryn Hinson tried to do a little acrobatic effort, didn't quite work out, and all of a sudden, TFC finally woke up. It was a very one-sided affair in the first 41 minutes, and that kind of was a theme at least heading into the second half as well, where Toronto really grew into this game and eventually took advantage of the Union not being clinical in terms of their finishing. Though that being said, they also can thank Sean Johnson too because he denied Bueno on a half volley, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Baribo would heads it high from the corner. Not much happened in the second half either for both of these teams. There was no doubt that the Union once again has started to ramp up the pressure, trying to get that breakthrough. Johnson would then deny Danley from long range before Hinson would puts it right to Blake after just a bad turnover from the Union there on the defensive end. And I mean, bro, the Union's got to be careful because again, this we saw this happen in the first half where TFC kind of grew into this game, and eventually they're going to have a chance to get the breakthrough. And guess what? In the 76th minute, they did get the breakthrough. TFC as Bryn Hinson, he scored his second goal for TFC, and this has to feel good for him because he has been a guy that has kind of struggled so far, but he's been getting in the right place at the right time. It's just his finishing has kind of been lacking. Well, he made no mistake of it. He absolutely blasted that one from close range from Flores to give Toronto a 1-0 lead, and then it almost was 2-0 when Corbinu puts it high from close range, and you just kind of had a sense the Union looked rattled. That the fans, they didn't really have much to do. The Union was much putting all sorts of pressure, but now they found themselves 1-0 down. So how does Bradley Carnoutside respond? Well, they tied the game up in the 86th minute as Nathan Hario would score from Wagner to tie the game up at one apiece. It came off of a set pieces, which is something that the Union always have an advantage on that. Lukic then puts it over from long range, but then the second minute of stoppage time, Kai Wagner would complete the comeback for the Union in the second minute of stoppage time and break the hearts of Toronto by winning 2-1 in this one. And what's even more heartbreaking is that it took a wicket deflection as well. I mean, this is one that Johnson had no chance in terms of, and just kind of the luck that TFC has. I mean, when you are number one in the Eastern Conference, even when you're not having a good day like the Union has had, you're gonna get that luck in your favor. And likewise on the other end for TFC, it's been a miserable season for them, and yeah, the lucks are just not gonna be on your side because of it. So yeah, in the end, the Union they complete the 2 or they win 2-1. They complete the comeback in this one in dramatic fashion in the last 6 minutes. The shots in this one, 13 shots for the 10 that TFC had, 6 shots on goal for the 4 that TFC had, 4 shots off target for the 5 that the Union has, 2 shots was blocked for the 1 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that TFC has in this game. And while I know Bradley Cornell might not be too happy of the fact that it took them so late to eventually get this comeback victory, and also the finishing of this team was relatively poor. He'll be happy the fact that they were able to escape Toronto with all three points, especially playing in the middle of the week on a road game. It's never easy to get all 3 points. And for TFC, there's really no shame in terms of this loss. Robin Fraser's side really fought very hard in this game, and I think this is just kind of a warning to teams that when you're the favorites coming into the game, you have to bury those chances, because if you let a team even as poor as TFC has been this season, if you let a team have hope, and especially giving them a couple of chances, they will pounce on it. And as we seen before, Toronto, they pounce on their chances, unable to close this game out late in this one. Now, that being said, moving on in terms of the next match is the Red Bulls and Charlotte FC. So yeah, this was a game where for Charlotte, you thought that game against Columbus, maybe that would be a breakthrough. Maybe they're back on track. Nope. Instead, they have more defensive problem in this one. I mean, it's hard to believe that Charlotte last season, being one of the best defensive team in the league, just giving up goals at will this season. And it's not like they change a lot in terms of the back line. Yes, I know they are missing some key player. I think the Nathan Burns injury that seemed more significant than ever before. But it's not like this defense is anything different than last season, and they perform actually pretty well in the beginning of the year. But it feels like ever since this bad run of form, this team has been just giving up goals at will, and also doesn't have that Kalina hasn't been as sharp as what we see in previous season, and even in the early season as well. Now, in the first half, the first shot of the game came in the 10th minute, where Pepiel missed wide from close before Sofo would put it high from long range. But then in the 14th minute, the Red Bulls takes the lead as Bogish would score from Duncan to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. Peter Stroud did look for another, but he missed wide in the 19th minute. The Red Bulls definitely had the momentum, looking for the second goal up to this point. But Pepiel puts it wide from close in the 20th minute, and then in the 26th minute, Charlotte ties the game up as Kervin Vargas, he scored from Arjuman and Marshall Ruddy to tie the game up at one apiece. We did not stay tied for long, because just 3 minutes later, Mohamed Sofo, he just cannot stop scoring right now. He scored from Carmona to make it 2-1 in favor of the Red Bulls. It was a cheeky backheel finish there for Sofo, a guy that, yeah, when you have a finish like that, he is a very confident kind of player right now. But again, just has not has just not non-stop scoring in terms of these last couple of games. Zaha did look to answer, but he puts it way high in the 41st minute. We do head to halftime with the Red Bulls leading 2-1. In the second half, Carmona hits it right to Kalina in the 47th minute. Not much really happened, at least in the beginning of the second half, and I thought that kind of favored the Red Bulls with the way that they're leading this game, maybe trying to see this out. Ajiman then hits it right to Cornell, and in the post, denied Harper from close in the 67th minute, but then a penalty was given to the Red Bulls as Privet brought down Choupo-Moting in the box, and this is an example of the difference we have seen with the Charlotte defense compared to the past. This is kind of a mistake that Andrew Privet does not make in previous season, but him alongside with Melanda, that backline partnership just have not been the same as we've seen doing this losing run compared to previous times. So here comes Choupo-Moting, a chance to capitalize on that. And Choupo-Moting is not going to miss from the spot. He doesn't. He buries it to make it 3-1 in this one. Abada did look to answer, but he missed wide there before he hits it right to Cornell in the 75th minute. I thought it was a good response for Charlotte again. And it just feels like every time when the Red Bull scores, Charlotte has a way to at least respond. So at least kind of give it to that in terms of the attack, kind of having the right mentality after conceding a goal, and they were rewarded in the 76th minute as Leo Abada would make it 3-2 in this one. As this one, actually, let me roll. Cornell actually made a great save there originally, but yeah, it was just kind of one of those unfortunate one where Abada was in the right place, right time to clean up the mess, and just like that, it's 3-2 in this game, and they press to try to tie it up. Melanda would then hits it over from the corner before Cornell denied Zaha in the near post. It just feels like it's all hands on deck for this Red Bull side. Charlotte was pressing very hard to try to equalize late, but in the 5th minute of stoppage time, they have a chance to put this away. As a penalty once again was given to the Red Bulls, and again, as I mentioned about Privet making mistake, Malanda is another guy that last season was just rock solid for this Charlotte defense. Well, he makes a mistake here by bringing down Harper in the box. So here comes Choupo-Moting, another chance to bury it from the spot. And like I said, he doesn't miss from the spot very often, and he doesn't do it. So he puts the 4th goal in this game to pretty much shut the door on Charlotte's chance to come back. As in the end, the Red Bulls they win 4-2 in this one. The shots in this one, 10 shots for the 12 that Charlotte had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that the Red Bulls had, 2 shots off target for the 5 that Charlotte has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. So for the Red Bulls, good back win. Well, actually, not a good bounce back win. They won the Atlantic Cup. I almost forgot that is the case. So they're actually in a pretty good run of form, at least in the last couple of games. But you can't say the same about Sharp so far. I mean, you just thought that maybe that Columbus game was a turn in the corner, but there's got to be a lot of concern if you're Dean Smith about how bad this defense has gone and how much this defense has regressed. I mean, with all the talks about the attack being bad, I don't think the attack has been that bad for the Charlotte team. It's the defense that's got to be alarming to see how bad things have got, and because of that, it's no wonder why they're on a losing run. I mean, it's pretty clear that if their defense is as bad as they are, they don't really have that strength of what we see with other bad defensive teams to really overcome that at least on the attacking end. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Houston and NYCFC. So this is definitely one of the more unexpected result. I mean, you would say that that's the case because the fact that no, this is a midweek game. The Dynamo basically play a relatively weak squad, and you're facing again. It's an NYCFC team that they just got a big win coming off of this weekend against the Chicago Fire, and yet in this game they just kind of look like the opposite as they were against Chicago. I mean, this was just I feel like this also kind of just sums up the season so far for NYCFC. The inconsistency has been a problem for Pascal Janssen's side, and also doesn't help the fact that this was also the Gabe Seagull revenge game as well. But in the 4th minute, Ladero puts it high from close as that was the game's first shot. Not much really happened early as the shots was only 2-1 for NYCFC 17 minutes in. Gray would then miss wide from close, but then the 26th minute, the Dynamo takes the lead as Justin Hack unfortunately put it into his own net. He was trying to head that one away for a corner, but instead he puts it into his own net there. I mean, it was a lovely header there from Justin Hack. Problem was it was the wrong net there, and just like that, the Dynamo were gifted a 1-0 lead. Andrade did look for another, but he hits it right to Freeze before Seagull was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Freeze in the 41st minute. And again, Gabe Seagull, he doesn't usually get a lot of minutes for this Dynamo side, but I'm pretty sure he was licking his chops coming into this game against his former team. I mean, I know secretly he doesn't have any animosity against NYCFC, but anytime when a player faces against your former team, you have that extra motivation to do well against your former team and maybe kind of have a little revenge game as well, and that's kind of what Gabe Seagull had in this one. But the Dynamo definitely had the momentum up to this point. They were pressing to try to get the second goal. We have they heads it wide from the free kick in the 1st minute stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with the Dynamo leading 1-0. In the second half, they waste no time to make it 2-0 as Gabe Seagull would score here to make it 2-0 in favor of the Dynamo. Freeze did actually make a great save here originally, but it just falls right into the path of Gabe Seagull, who did not celebrate when he scored the goal. And again, as I said, he doesn't really hold any animosity to NYCFC, and that respectively not celebrating against his former team. Deep down, he's got to think that feels good, especially for a guy that, like I said, doesn't get a lot of minutes with his Dynamo team, and not to mention is a guy that hasn't scored a lot for in his young MLS career. But in the 58th minute, O'Neal did look to respond, but he was denied by Bond before Wolf would put it on the free kick. NYCFC started to kind of have the momentum, though they decided to make a line change with 4 subs coming in to try to get one back. That's kind of an interesting decision when you decide to make that many changes when the momentum seems like it's going Pascal Janssen's side. I mean, I guess maybe they were trying to freshen things up because when you play a midweek game like that, and especially with a lot of these teams playing a lot of games in quick succession. The fatigueness is starting to catch up, so we're gonna see a lot of more line changes but before, but it's the timing was kind of weird. The fact that they had the momentum and looked like things were going to go well, and it's no surprise that that line change kind of disrupted the momentum. I mean, they just never gained that attacking steam after that. Gray did miss high from close to the 80th minute. The Dynamo, I thought for the most part, had done a great job seeing this game out. Part of that is because of how good defensively they have looked in the last couple of games. I mean, I've been very impressed of how Ben Olsen has really rallied this troop. I mean, this is another team that I feel like they're kind of having a very similar season to what we see with the New England Revolution, a season that they got off to a terrible start to the season, but recently have definitely started to play much better and getting points, and that's kind of the case with the Dynamo. They are rising up the standings relatively quick after just looked like they were dead and buried in the beginning of of the season. But Martins would then hit it wide from close in the 88th minute before Ojeda missed high from close range. But in the second minute of stoppage time, a penalty was given to the Dynamo as Dwayne Holmes, who made his debut in this one, was brought down by Cavallo. So here comes Gabe Seago, a chance to score again against his former team, and he buries it to make it 3-0 in favor of the Dynamo. That would be the final score of this game, as the shots in this one, 12 shots for the 11 that NYCFC had, one shot on goal compared to 5 that the Dynamo has, 2 shots off target for the 6 that NYCFC had, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that the Dynamo has, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession the Houston Dynamo has in this game. And like I said, for NYCFC, this has got to be frustrating. The inconsistency is a big problem with this NYCFC side. And what's even more frustrating is that the inconsistency is now plaguing their home form as well. Again, this is a team that I really believe that they need to really heavily rely on their home form if they want to get themselves into the playoffs. We know they're not great when they're playing on the road. I think they only won once so far this season on the road, and that was against Toronto. No, that is, but at home they cannot afford to drop these kind of results, especially when you're facing against a weak Houston side as well, a Dynamo side that was pretty much playing their second string player. There was absolutely no excuse for not them to not get points out of this game, and even a worse excuse in terms of them just getting shut out, like this. Now, that being said, moving on into the next game. We got Miami versus Montreal. So Miami is definitely back on the winning ways, and it's kind of weird to say that because lately they haven't been on the winning ways. And while there is still problems when you look at the defense of this team. I mean, I think when you look at the defensive side, they still are giving up big chances, and they're very lucky that they're facing against a Montreal side that, even though they have kind of had their numbers in recent years, yeah, this is a Montreal side that is. There's a reason why they only have one win this season, and they kind of fall into that classic trap of not taking your advantage against Miami when they're giving to you, and their defense also is absolute hot garbage this season. Now, in the first half, Suarez tried to backheel it, but he hits it right to Siwas. Unsurprisingly, Miami had lots of possession early. Montreal was going to do what you usually see most team does to Miami. They're just going to sit back and counter. I mean, the book is definitely out on Miami. All you need to do is just sit back and counter, and you should do well. Well, as long as you have a good defense, and we know that this Montreal team does not have a good defense. Saliba with the first chance for Montreal, but he missed wide there before Suarez puts it wide from close range. The shots were only 2-1 for Miami early in this one. Messi would then puts it way high from close, as Miami was definitely knocking on the door, and Montreal again playing at a bit of dangerous game by giving the ball in bad spot. But you know what other dangerous game they were playing? Not marking the GOAT himself, because here, the GOAT himself in the 27 minutes score from Busquets to make it 1-0 in favor of Miami. I mean, you would think that, when you have the GOAT himself at the top of the arc, you could be thinking about marking down, or at very least, that should be alarm bells ringing the fact that, yeah, you better close him down, because we see Messi do this pretty much throughout his legendary career, and it's no surprise that as soon as you saw him have a gaping space to try to shoot from long range, yeah, that's game over for Montreal. That's 1-0 for Miami. And when I saw that space, I might as well just write 1-0 in favor of Miami and a Messi goal, because we've seen him score those kind of goals all the time, and he did exactly that. And just like that, it's 1-0 in favor of Miami. Baroni did look to response, but he missed an absolute sitter there, which kind of just sums up his career with Montreal and also with the New England Revolution. I mean, I think the Revs are probably fortunate the fact that, yeah, he's no longer on this team, because I think Montreal fans are probably getting the warning from New England fans of how frustrated Veroni could be in front of goal. Allen's then missed way wide from close in the 40th minute before Veroni missed wide from close in the first minute of stoppage time. Montreal definitely creating some dangerous chances, but can they get themselves an equalizer up to this point? But we and the answer is no, because we head to halftime with Miami leading 1-0. In the second half, just like the beginning of the first half, not much really happened in the start of the second half as well. Miami continued to dominate possession. Alande then missed wide from close before Messi tried to dink it over Walls there, but puts it onto the roof of the net. Miami definitely started creating these chances, but the question is, can they finally get that second goal to maybe kill this game off? Because you know that Montreal is still going to get some dangerous chances because you know Miami is a team that likes to give their opposition a lot of good chances, and here, this was a big chance here as Usari. You know, he's been under fire these last couple of games and really doing this losing run as well of him not making big save and giving up soft goals. But here he does incredibly there to make a double save, both denying Sealy and but his son in on the follow up, and that was huge too because literally on the other end after that goal or after that big save happened, Luis Suarez would score. He scored for Messi to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And then in the 71st minute, they make it 3-0 in favor of Inter Miami as Suarez would get on the score sheet again. That's how quick the momentum can change. You can have one moment where you look like you were going to have a chance to ties the game up, and you don't take advantage of your chances, and they can just go on the other end and score just like that. But in the 74th minute, Montreal did get a little bit of a lifeline as Dante Sealy would score from Caden Clark to make it 3-1 in this one. What is defending, basically? Because yeah, it was nowhere to found. It was pretty much all attacking vibes in the last 10 minutes of this game. There was a shout for a penalty for Miami. Not given. In fact, it was the Miami fans that were shouting for a penalty there. It was not given. But in the 87th minute, Messi would score again. He scored from Suarez to make it 4-1 in this one. Pretty much put this game out of reach. Though, as we know about Inter Miami, they love to concede goals, don't they, doing this bad run of form. And they conceded another one here in the second minute of stoppage time as Leteri would score from Alvarez and Sealy to make it 4-2 in this one. And once again, the Achilles heel of Miami struck again. It comes off of the set pieces. They are probably the most vulnerable team this season and last season when it comes to set pieces. They just don't know how to deal with that. It doesn't really matter a change of coaches. It still is a problem where they're conceding just so many set piece going a high alarming amount of set piece goals. But the good news is at least the talent kind of bailed them out in this one as they win 4-2 in this one. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 10 that Montreal has, 4 shots on goal for the 6 that Montreal has, 3 shots off target for the 5 that Miami has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to the 1 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that Montreal has in this game. And well, you know, some will say that this is a good win for Miami in this one because it's been a tough time for Miami in these last couple of games of not getting as much win, and especially the attack not being as lethal as it used to be. There is still maybe some concern of the way that the defense, it is still not good whatsoever. And when they do face against a good team, I mean, it's not going to be every single day they face against a lowly Eastern Conference opponent. If they do face it's a good team like what we saw against the Union as well, that could be a bit of a problem. But at least for this game, they'll be happy to get all 3 points out of this one. And for Montreal, yeah, not much I have to say about Montreal in this one. It's been a miserable season for them. It's been a miserable season for teams in Eastern Canada as well, and they'll just kind of move on from the next one. Now, that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 4 games to finish off the review of part 1, looking at the first 8 games of this midweek action of match week number 16. So moving on, in the next match is DC versus New England, and this game was a classic example of what happened when you don't kill your opponent off and get that crucial second goal. I mean, New England, they pretty much dominated for most part of this game, and they had a chance to get that second goal. Didn't get so, let DC back into the game, and they were rightfully punished because of that. Now, in the first half, Herrera missed wide from close before Heel puts it high from long range. There was a couple of half chances for both of these teams early, but not much really trouble either goalkeeper. Mero would then hits it right to Ivicic before Yusuf puts it wide from long range. Shankalai then puts it wide from long range as the shots were five apiece up to this point. But in the third minute of stoppage time, Irian Fangio would score the first goal for New England in this one, and yeah, it was not great defending there from DC whatsoever, and just a backbreaker for them to concede right on the stroke of halftime, and just like that, New England takes a 1-0 lead heading into the second half. Now in the second half, not much really happened, at least in the beginning of the second half, but in the 57th minute, Paglo would puts it high from close range before Barraza denying Ganago on the doorstep of goal. Barraza then denied Diaz from close range, and then he denied Diaz in the near post in the 74th minute. I gotta say, Luis Diaz, in his return to MLS, he's kind of looked like the Luis Diaz of an old, being a very electric player and a very speedy player. Obviously, the problem with Diaz is that his finishing, yeah, is not there. I mean, he's kind of a one-trick pony when it comes to you really rely heavily on the speed as well to cause a problem with his opposition and creating the chances. But when it comes to finishing chances, Columbus fan can tell you all about the problem that Luis Diaz has. But there was no doubt that New England was pressing to get that second goal, trying to put this one out of reach. Yusuf would flash one wide from long range before he hits it right to Peraza in the 79th minute. New England continued to get the chances, but like I said in the beginning, with the inability to get that second going to come back to haunt this team because you know that when you don't kill your opposition off, you're going to give the opposition a chance to get back into this game, and DC kind of took advantage of that. Strout would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide before Layout puts it high from long range, and it also doesn't help the fact that New England kind of decided to go row heath mode a little bit in the last 10 minutes, kind of trying to bunker and hope to see out the win, and DC immediately put on a lot of pressure trying to get that equalizer. And they finally do so in the first minute of stoppage time. And Priani would score to tie the game up at one apiece, and most importantly, that also ended a 500-minute plus, or almost 500-minute goal drought that DC had. I actually had no idea DC have not scored a goal in that long of a period, but I guess that's kind of understand why they have been struggling so much throughout these last couple of games. But yeah, that finally ended the drought to tie the game up at one apiece, and I also think this is kind of maybe why Caleb Porter maybe kind of packed it in a little bit, thinking that yeah, that streak is not going to come to anytime soon. But then you realize that, like I said, anytime when you decide to let your opposition back in the game and not getting that second goal, whether you're playing at home or on the road, it just doesn't do well. Even if you're facing against a team that is pretty much offering nothing in front of goal in the past couple of games. Ivicic then denied Stroud, but fall right to Schneck, who puts it right to Ivicic in the second minute. DC was not satisfied with a result with just a draw. I mean, after they got their monkey off the back, they were pressing hard to try to get the late win. Though Diaz did flash one wide from close in the 6 minute stoppage time, and in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 21 shots for the 13 that New England has. Both teams had 4 shots on goal, 6 shots off target for the 5 that DC had, 11 shots that was blocked for the 3 that New England has, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that New England has in this one. And it's not often I say the team that at least got a point on the row is the more frustrated side, but that's kind of what this game is. I mean, New England they had this game won pretty much for the majority of it, and again, how many times we said you're not able to get that second goal, not able to kill this game off and let your opposition back in the game and try to maybe just bunker in and seize it out, especially when you're the road team. It usually does not work well. There's a reason why I invented the term road heave mode, because that's kind of a thing that Adrian Heath would do with the Minnesota team for a long time. And as I also talk about tomorrow when I talk about the Loons as well, they really went road heave mode to a level I haven't seen a while that Minnesota did against Vancouver. But that being said, moving on into the next game is Cincinnati and Dallas. And I gotta say, again, this just kind of doesn't make any sense. But for whatever reason, this season, whenever Dallas play on the road, you're expected to see some high scoring affair. Like I don't understand why a team can be this potent on the attack on the road, but when it comes to them playing at home, it's just the complete opposite. It's just that they just have trouble to score a goal. And here in a game like yeah, once again, Dallas gets the result, and in some way, it come from behind result as well, because for Cincinnati, they would be absolutely kicking themselves that they didn't win this game. Like they had the lead twice in this one. They had a multi-goal lead in this one as well. It looked like they were going to win this game, but again, how many times we talk about when you don't put the game really out of reach, and especially letting Dallas back in the game, that's gonna come back to haunt you. Now, in the first half, I just want to mention the Blues were already down. When Acosta kicked the ball off, yeah, there's definitely a lot of animosity that Cincinnati fans still hold with Lucho Acosta, and Lucho Acosta even doubled down by saying he's frustrated of how the Cincinnati fans boo him in his return, and frustrated the fact that the fans should have treated him some respect after coming back in this one. Well, yeah, about that respect. I mean, I don't think that is something you should say after, I know Lucho Acosta did had some great moment for Cincinnati. The way that he left this club, and the way that he kind of burned the bridges on this team, I mean, I'm not surprised the fact that the Blues were out, and Cincinnati fans definitely were not happy in terms of the way he ended his turn with Cincinnati. But in the 7th minute, Buka with the game's first shot, but he hits it right to pass before Robinson would heads it wide from the corner. Cincinnati was definitely on the front foot, pressing for the opening goal. Buka then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide, as the shots were 5-0 for Cincinnati early on. Like, it was all Cincinnati up to this point. In fact, this entire first half was all Cincinnati. Though I said that, but there was a rare chance for Dallas in the 28th minute, as Musa has the first shot for Dallas, but he puts that one wide. But in the 30th minute, Buka would score his goal, and rightfully so. I mean, Pavel Buka was very active in terms of the attack in the first 30 minutes, and rightfully so. He finally caught a goal here from Yetlin and Orejano to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati, and it just been coming. The pressure was mounting on this Dallas team, and it finally buckled. Robinson then looked for another, but he hits it wide on the header. But then a penalty was given to Cincinnati, as Paz brought down Danke in the box. So Danke, of course, win the penalty. He's the one that takes the penalty, and he makes no mistake of it. It's 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati. It was a one-way traffic. You're just thinking, well, nothing dramatic is going to happen in this game, right? Well, then the second half happened, because after Saotano denied Musa, and Pedrino did get the rebound there and blast this one wide, he was not denied in the 50th minute. Pedro Musa, he scored here from Moore to make it 2-1 in this one. Oriano did look to respond, but he puts that one wide after he was trying to chip the keeper from his own half. We have seen that before from Lucas Oriano, trying to chip the goalkeeper from his own half, and have been successful in terms of doing that. Evander then puts it high from close. Cincinnati did press back to try to restore the 2-goal lead, but instead, in the 68th minute, Dallas ties the game. As Anderson Julio, he scored from Pedrino to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And while that was a world-class pass from Pedrino as well, it's starting to become a very underrated attacking pieces for the Dallas team. I mean, everybody talk about Lucho Acosta, but Pedrino has looked really good for this Dallas team in these last couple of games. But you got a question in terms of the marking for Cincinnati. I mean, who in the world was marking Julio there? The fact that Anderson Julio found himself that much space like that, just inexcusable defending from the Cincinnati team. And I also would like to say that, when you look at the defensive performance by Cincinnati, how much is this because of the fact that Hagelin is injured? We saw in the last game against Atlanta, they were not the same team once Hagelin went down, and it just also kind of feel like it's almost like a repeat of last season all over again, where once some of their defensive pieces, especially their star defensive pieces, went down, the the puzzle basically just fall apart, and the dominoes just fall apart once again in the Cincinnati. Anyway, in the 70th minute, Kamara did look to respond, but was denied by Paz, and then he hits it right to Paz in the 72nd minute. Once again, Cincinnati did a good job responding well after conceding, as they were looking to try to get the lead back. Paz would then deny Denke, but he was actually brought down after Paz make the save here on the follow up, and Cincinnati wants a penalty. Denke wants a penalty there, but it was not given. Ibiaga then hits one right to Salatano in the 80th minute, but then in the 86th minute, Cincinnati takes the lead back, as Dado Valenzuela score here to give Cincinnati the lead back in this one. It took a wicked deflection as well, but Cincinnati will be happy the fact that they got the lead back after blowing the 2-0 lead. So not much should happen after that. You would expect they should see this game out, right? Well, no, because in the 88th minute, after Musa looked to tie it up again, but missed one in the second minute stoppage time, Ibiaga scores. He scored from Delgado and Benedi to tie the game up at three apiece. There's just something about this Dallas team, the fact that they just have that never say die mentality on the attack whenever they play on the road. Which again, it just goes back to you wonder where in the world is these kind of believe when they're playing at home, because it just feels really strange how night and day it is, this attack, when they're playing on the road compared to them playing at home. But nevertheless, it ends in a free draw on this one. The shots in this one, 20 shots with a 10 that Dallas had, 5 shots on goal to the 8 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots off target compared to the 5 that Cincinnati has, 1 shot that's blocked to the 6 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Dallas has in this game. And there's got to be a lot of concern right now if you're Cincinnati when you look at how this defense has performed in the last two games. And as I said, it just feels like it's eerily similar to last year, where some of their key starting defensive pieces started went down. That's when this team kind of went down sideways and went down to a really poor run of form. That is. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Atlanta and Orlando City. So this was a game where Atlanta, of course, got their revenge against Orlando City, but in many ways, this was a self-inflicted meltdown that Orlando City had in this game. Now, in the first half, it started relatively well, and the guy that kind of was at the center of the meltdown actually scored the first goal, as Cesar Araujo would score from Ojeda and Breclo to give Orlando City a 1-0 lead. It's also the first shot of the game, and just not great closing down from this Atlanta team. I mean, Araujo is not known to score long range goal, but when you allow him that much space to shoot there, yeah, he's going to have a crack at it, and he puts it on target to give Orlando City a 1-0 lead. Almiron did look to respond, but he missed wide. The game was very open, I thought, early on, and very direct as well. Ojeda was then in on goal there, but he missed wide in the 14th minute. But then the 19th minute, Atlanta ties the game up, as Maranchuk would tie the game up at one apiece. It was one of these kind of pinball kind of moment that Orlando didn't clear it, and it falls right to Maranchuk there. And with how difficult a season it has been for let's say Maranchuk, especially from the goal scoring department, you just kind of sense that he eventually will get one of these lucky bounces in his way, and that's exactly what happened there. And just like that, the game was tied up at one apiece. Lobjanidze was then in on goal there, but he sliced this one wide. Another player that has had a very difficult season, Saba Lobjanidze. He still have not scored a goal this season, and after last season, he really broke out for this team. I just don't know what happened to him this season. Though you kind of have to question this entire Atlanta attack as well. It's just been underperforming after underperforming that we see so far from them this season. But that being said, I also thought that goal kind of give Atlanta some belief, because early on it was all Orlando. It looked like it was going to be one-way traffic again, just like the last time both of these rival meet each other. But now Atlanta has the momentum after they got that equalizer. But in the 32nd minute, Orlando takes the lead back, as Enrique would score to make it 2-1 in favor of Orlando, and just an absolute gift here that Williams did. He got this one all wrong, trying to deal with this long ball, and it goes right into the path of Enrique. He went in on goal there and puts it away, and just like that, Orlando City has the lead back. Ojeda then looked for another, but he missed high there before Freeman just missed one on the back post there. He was very close to try to tap this one in, just couldn't quite do so. But there was no doubt that Orlando got the momentum back. They're now pressing to try to get that third goal before halftime, and we do head to halftime with Orlando leading 2-1 in this one. In the second half, it was pretty much the same thing. Orlando continued to push to try to get that third goal. First, it was Guzan denying Pasalic shot onto the post before he denied Ojeda from close range. Orlando again picked up where they left off, continue to press for that third goal. Pasalic would then hits one right to Guzan before Ojeda was in on goal there, but just could not put this one on target. Ojeda has definitely cooled off after he was on such a great goal scoring spree about a couple of weeks ago, but now starting to kind of cool off a little bit, unable to show his clinical finishing. That if this was just a couple of weeks ago, Ojeda probably would have had a couple of goals and maybe even a hat trick in this game, with how clinical his finishing was during that spell. But like I said, Orlando was all over Atlanta up to this point. But again, can they get that crucial third goal? Because I think the theme, at least when we see these last three games, is team not able to get that crucial next goal to stretch out the lead that is going to come back to haunt them. And I also said that Atlanta kind of eventually ride out the pressure and maybe started to get some more possession, but really they weren't still creating some dangerous chances besides the fact that Amador puts it way wide off the volley in the 70th minute. But then this is when the meltdown began, and it all started in the 74th minute. And really, as I said, just a self-inflicted mistake in a moment of madness there from Cesar Arujo. I mean, that the league has this policy of not allow players to put their hands on the opponent's face or neck, and especially with the way that the referee was literally right in front of you. The fact that he decided to put the throw on Flick right in front of the referee, I mean, that is a textbook example of a red card. Just absolutely inexcusable, and like I said, just self-inflicted the mistake, and that this moment really just completely changed this rivalry game because in the 82nd minute, Bartosz Slic would score from a run check to tie the game up at two apiece, and then Click looked for the lead, but he hits it right to Galese in the 87th minute. You can see Atlanta smell blood up to this point, as all of a sudden now they're the one that pressed for the lead, and now Orlando is scrambling to trying to at least salvage a point out of this game. And they almost give up that lead in the first minute of stoppage time when Galese absolutely robbed TR right there. The flag actually went up, so that goal wouldn't have counted. But Moranchuk then puts it way high on the volley. But you just kind of had sense with all the pressure that Atlanta is putting. They're eventually going to try to get that third goal, and they got exactly that. As in the 5th minute of stoppage time, he did it again. TRA, he scored a stoppage time goal to seal the game against Cincinnati. Here he scored a stoppage time goal to win it for Atlanta. As that made it 3-2 in this game, that would be the final score of this one. Just again, absolute self-inflicted meltdown that Orlando City has in this one. As the shots in this one, 13 shots for the 11 that Orlando City had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that Atlanta has, 5 shots off target for the 3 that Orlando City has, 1 shot was blocked for the 2 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that this Orlando City has. And you got to say, if you're Atlanta United and you're a fan of this team, not only this is a huge victory against your biggest rival, but I really think these last two games could be a season changing and maybe a watershed moment for this Atlanta team. We talk about heading into that Cincinnati game how bad a run of form this Atlanta team was, and that this team, the morale of this team was at its all time low this season. Well, now you get a big win against Cincinnati at home to end that winless run, and now you follow that up with a great come from behind win against your biggest rival, albeit your biggest rival kind of decided to just completely self-destruct in this one. But hey, these are kind of the victory that will give the morale booster and give the hope that yeah, this team is going to be better than it is. Now, when it comes to when you look at the goal scoring for this team, yeah, there's no doubt that I don't know if these supporting cast player will continue to score those goals to power this Atlanta team. And again, this is another game where it's not an Atlanta United win if there's no more than 4 goals that is being scored. They've been fry on when it comes to scoring these or winning these high scoring affair. Now it's all about they need to win these games when it's kind of a low scoring affair because it's not going to be every single game where Atlanta is going to play in a high scoring affair. And not to mention the defense is still a major issue with this team. But when you look at these last two games of how big these win has, this has to really change the fortune of this Atlanta United team. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about Orlando City. Again, as well as Orlando City has played this season at home, and there's no doubt I think this team could still be a threat in the Eastern Conference. They cannot have these kind of moments, these self-inflicted mistake, and not to mention, on the road this season, we've seen this season this team are not as good on the road as they are at home. And while that might be good enough to make it to the playoffs, that could be bad news for Orlando City because they're not going to get that home field advantage where they have been very good because of them dropping points on the road, and especially in this game looking well in control, probably one of their better road game that they play besides the game against Miami, and they just completely they folded in the last 15 minutes just because of a silly mistake. Now moving on into the last game on this board is Columbus versus Nashville, and I gotta say, this definitely lived up to its billing when it comes to being a marquee key matchup. So we knew that this was gonna be a big matchup between two really good team, and I can't wait to see both of these teams face off against each other down in Geodis Park later this season because it just kind of had that playoff atmosphere that we saw in this one, and also just kind of two heavyweights going at it toe to toe. And in the first half, and the party really started relatively quickly. In fact, just 2 minutes in, I wrote 12 minutes into this game. It's actually 2 minutes into this game. Sam Surridge would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville. It was a beautiful delivery into the box. It did actually took a slight deflection, so there was no assist that was awarded there. But 90 seconds in, Nashville gets all to a dream start at Lower.com Field. Farsi did look to respond, but it was deflected and goes wide before Arson missed wide from long range. Mukhtar was then in on goal there, but he missed wide in the 11th minute. I thought Columbus was having problem dealing with the Nashville transition, and I kind of expect BJ Callahan was going to revert back to a little bit of the Gary Smith style of relying heavily on transition, because when you're facing against a Columbus team that likes to have possession and likes to put up a high line, yeah, you're gonna get chances if you're able to get behind that original line of confrontation. And I thought Nashville at time got those chances, but as we all know, Columbus, it's hard to try to get them the get behind the line of confrontation, because at this point, after this point, Columbus really started to dominate the game again. Again, this game in some way kind of feels very similar to the Hell is Real Derby, where the road team gets a quick early lead, thinking that things were going to go well, but Columbus just kind of started to dominate the rest of the game. Arson would then cross it wide from close. Again, lively start to this game. The shots were already 3-2 for Columbus up to this point, but like I said, Columbus really started to dominate up to this point. After this point, Rossi would then send one back to Cleveland before Arson puts it over from long range as Columbus continue to pile the pressure to try to get the lead. Almost would hits it right to Willis before Willis denying Sean Paul from close range, and you just kind of had a sense it was unrelentless pressure that this crew team was going to put. But the question is, can they solve Willis, who really was kind of the reason why this is still 1-0 in favor of Nashville? And then the post would deny Perez from close range. It was a rare chance for Nashville, and once again, a rare opportunity where they were able to get behind this Columbus defense because of the quick transitional moment. We do head to halftime with Nashville leading 1-0. In the second half, the crew continued to dominate possession, but the question is, can they finally break through this rigid Nashville defense? Nashville was really starting to put a very low block up at this point, kind of almost started to reminisce of the Gary Smith style of Nashville team. Hagen would then deny Surridge from close in the 62nd minute, but then the 69th minute, Columbus finally got the breakthrough, and who else but Diego Rossi getting the breakthrough for Columbus, tying the game up at one apiece. Though that is one that, yeah, for Joe Willis, as good as he was in this game, really kind of stand on his heads at time in this game. Yeah, that is one that you want to have back. I mean, he just gave up a juicy rebound there, and Rossi was in the right place to punish him because of that. And just like that, the game was tied up at one apiece. Surridge did look to respond, but he whiffs this one. The shots were 16-5 for Columbus. And up to this point, you're thinking, well, the momentum should be with the crew, right? They finally got that equalizer. They should be able to get that second goal, right? But again, credit to Nashville. They hung in there and kind of created a couple of dangerous chances of their own, as I mentioned with Surridge, whiffs one from close range. But Hagen had to make a save here to deny Schaffelberg from close range. And then on the other end, the post denied Russell Rowe from long range of the curler. And it just feels like it's a frantic action in the last couple of minutes. You kind of had a feeling that the next goal was going to come, and it did. Because after 2 minutes after I wrote that, Mukhtar would score from Schaffelberg to make it 2-1 in favor of Nashville. The lead didn't last long, though, because in the 81st minute, originally this was given to Russell Rowe, but later they changed this as an own goal for Palacio there. And yeah, just like that, the game was tied up at two apiece. Rossi did try to get the lead for Columbus, but he puts it wide on the volley. There's a shout for a handball for Nashville that is not given, but you just kind of sense that this game was up for grab. Both of these teams was pushing hard to try to get that crucial 3 points, and just kind of had that MLS after dark kind of energy where defense was pretty much put to the side. Hagen then denied Nahar from close, but in the end, in a very entertaining matchup, a very playoff as kind of atmosphere kind of matchup. It ends 2-2 between both of these teams. The shots in this one, 21 shots for the 13 that Nashville had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that Columbus had, 7 shots off target for the 3 that Nashville has, 3 shots off block for the 7 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to the 38% possession that Nashville has in this game. And I will say that even though Nashville blew the lead twice in this game, I think they're going to be the more happier side coming out of this one. I mean, anytime when you go into Columbus, especially in a midweek game like that, in a heavyweight matchup like that, to get points away from Columbus is something that not many team has been able to do, and really kind of also go toe to toe with Columbus and able to sustain the pressure as they did. I think Gary Smith's side will be pretty happy with this result. I don't think you can say the same about Wilfred Nancy. Surprisingly, this team is now on a 5-game winless run. I mean, they have drawn 4 out of the last 5 games, and also lost that game against Charlotte over the weekend. But it's kind of weird to see that Columbus are on a 5-game winless run, even though it doesn't feel like they're a team that's playing like they're on a 5-game winless run. I think the problem for Columbus, and this has been a problem I think for majority of the season, is that they just don't have that clinical finisher that we've seen in recent past. And this is also where the Cucho Hernandez discussion is being brought back of how they really need that kind of player. And I expect maybe in the summer they're thinking about getting that kind of guy, getting that clinical finisher and that difference maker that can really get this team back on track, because as well as they play it, it's entertaining brand of soccer that Wilfred Nancy side tends to play. The frustrating thing, if you're a Crew fan, is the fact that they haven't really been able to translate that entertaining brand of soccer that Nancy ball play into goals similar to what we saw last year. And again, big part of that is because they really do miss Cucho. I think if Cucho was still on this team easily should be number 1 in the league right now. There would be multiple games where we've seen Columbus would have won, and probably won comfortably because of the chances that they created, but because they just don't have that player right now, you're seeing these kind of resources where even though they're still playing that entertaining brand of soccer under Wilfred Nancy, they're not putting away the chances that we've seen in years past. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for part 1 of the review. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the first part of this review of this midweek action. Again, tomorrow I'll look at the last 5 games, including look at both of my team and see how they did in terms of this midweek action, and looking at some of these Western Conference game that is, because pretty much in this review we pretty much look at all Eastern Conference game and also a couple of interconference matchup as well. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.